This, truthfully, was one of the most difficult presentations I've put together in the long period of time since we've been doing these monthly meetings. And the presentations changed a few times as current events kept pushing it in different directions. And what I finally decided was to really talk today about two contradictory things. And one is how scary and frightening and demoralizing a moment that we are in, and acknowledging that, and at the same time talking about how much we've accomplished together, how effective we have been together, and what we can be doing in the future to be even more effective together in the future. So holding those two ideas at the same time is a little bit difficult. It's difficult for me anyway. I know that some of you are struggling with that as well, but let's all, bear with each other and get through this together. So thank you all for being here. I am Wendy Gelernter. I will be hosting this meeting today, but you will be hearing from many other people as well about some of the actions they've taken in the last year that they have found most rewarding and most effective. And we'll also give you as current an update as we can on upcoming actions, which those are changing by the moment, as you can imagine. But as this horrific shooting in Minneapolis just today, events are unfolding, they're changing rapidly, and so will we. We'll try to be as flexible as we can. And let's go forward. And I want to go forward, but I actually want to go back a year and start with this raft of articles that came out, starting almost immediately after Trump got elected in November and continuing on into 2025. And they were all the same. It was the resistance has died, the resistance gone quiet, goodbye resistance, whatever happened to the Trump resistance, nothing's happening. And these were in publications that, that it wasn't the Wall Street Journal. These were publications that are quite often friendly to us. So in some ways, they did what the great author Timothy Snyder has told us not to do, which is to obey in advance, right? To concede in advance. And it was so demoralizing to see these horrible articles appearing. But guess what? They were really, really wrong. And the people of Minnesota yesterday and today, of course, are the emblem, I think, for all of us of just how wrong they were. That tens and hundreds of thousands of people not only showing up to protest there in icy cold weather, but also conducting really the first successful mass general strike of this era in their city and in their state. And we don't have all the metrics yet, but it's been incredibly successful despite the heartbreak and the violence that this is inciting. And if we just move away from Minnesota, though it's hard to do, and remember some of the other things that you, the resistance, with your help accomplished last year. And it was quite an amazing raft of electoral victories, from overwhelming yes vote on Proposition 15 in California, to the election of a Democrat to the Board of Supervisors, Paloma Aguirre, here in San Diego County, to elections all across the country, in Virginia, in Wisconsin, in Florida, in New Jersey, where Democrats not only won, but way, way overperformed Kamala Harris's performance in 2024. There was the election of a Democratic Socialist in New York City, Zoran Mamdani. And maybe even more significantly, Democrats flipped 21% of the legislative seats around the country that had been held by Republicans in the past. And so overall, when we put that all together, the total record of wins or overperformances in major elections last year was about 90%, 228 races out of 256. And that is because all of you did your thing, whether it was writing letters and postcards, making phone calls, canvassing, giving money, talking to your friends, posting on social media. You know the drill. All of that mattered. All of it made a difference. We also know that last year was really the first time boycotts were seriously discussed and deployed. And there were some very successful ones. And again, all of us did that. From getting Jimmy Kimmel put on air to getting Avalo to stop deporting people on their airplanes, to getting Elon Musk out of our government by boycotting Tesla, by boycotting Spotify and getting them to stop accepting ICE ads. Not all the boycotts we did last year were successful, and everybody is getting their feet wet and figuring this out. But I do think we proved we can mobilize our economic muscle and force these corporations to stop supporting the awful acts of the Trump administration. And of course, we showed up in the streets. And this was historic, as you all know, whether it was the gigantic, enormous, rallies in Waterfront Park where over 80,000 people showed up, whether it was the neighborhood protests where 5 people showed up, and everything in between. Those protests work. And a lot of people have asked, do those protests work? Are we just doing this for ourselves? Well, we are doing it for ourselves for sure. I think everybody who's been to some of those feels inspired, energized, not alone, and wanting to do more. So if it was just for ourselves, it would be worth it. But of course, that wasn't. People saw the growing, vibrant, positive, peaceful actions of their neighbors and their friends and their relatives, and it made them think. And that's why the next time there were more, and the time after that there were even more. And of course the media saw it, and Congress and senators saw it, and all of that has an impact. So we need to keep doing them. They're certainly not the only thing, but what an amazing thing we did in a city and a county where the rest of the country thinks we all live to go surfing. That's way beyond, we did way beyond that, and really had some of the biggest and most successful of all the No Kings rallies in the country. But there were a lot of other things people did too, right? They made calls, they lobbied their elected representatives, they hung banners from freeways, and you're going to hear about some of these actions in just a bit. But the bottom line is that all the pictures I'm showing you are pictures of 1 million small, brave acts that people took, people who refused to look away. And it's going to take a lot, millions and millions of more small acts. So nobody has to be the person staring down the tank in China, although I think a few heroes like that would be welcome. But every small thing that we did last year and every small thing that we continue to do in the coming year, multiplied by millions and tens of millions, is going to make a difference. And with that, I think I wanted to let you hear from some other people in our Take Action San Diego group. I've asked about 10 people to very briefly, 30 seconds to 60 seconds maximum, talk about something they did in the last year that they felt was rewarding to them, but also incredibly effective. And we're going to start with Larry.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And Wendy, could you mute your mic so we don't get an echo?
Oh, yeah.
Uh, I want to tell you about the work that I've been doing with the Blue Voter Guide. It's a voter assistance tool that helps people select progressive candidates. And you can help out by a number of roles in that in the organization. But let's flip to the next slide, Wendy. This is the type of information. This is just a general Texas state level election. What it shows is the person types in their address, and you get all of the races that are available for your specific address. And the guide provides the endorsements from organizations, progressive organizations, for those candidates. So the work that's needed in this Blue Voter Guide is we need help for finding these endorsements. There's possibilities for programmers or people who are interested in doing some tech work. And there's just a lot of research possibilities. So if you want to do something behind the scenes that helps voters make their ballots better, you can sign up or take a look at the Blue Voter Guide. And put the last slide up, please, Wendy. And I'm going to put a link in the chat for you to check out if you're interested in this type of work, which is it's a lot of fun. It's really a great group. So that's something for you to consider. That's a little bit different, but helps get progressive candidates elected.
Thanks, Larry. Yeah.
You're muted.
Will we ever learn how to use Zoom properly? I wanted to add that my memory is that this whole thing got started several years ago because there was a recognition that so many people don't vote because they think they don't have enough information, that was one of the big barriers. So this is all about getting out the vote. And I think it's been a tremendous resource. So I think next we're going to go to Misty. Sorry, who's going to talk about canvassing?
Thank you, Wendy. And last year in California was not intended to be an election year. However, when Texas pulled their shenanigans, California answered the call by putting Prop 50 on the ballot. And when we did that, we had the opportunity to go out and talk to voters. And if you've not done canvassing before, or if Prop 50 was your first time, it was one of the most rewarding canvassing efforts I had ever been involved in. And the response was very different at some levels than what I had ever experienced before. People were incredibly enthusiastic to vote. I literally had people see the door hangers I had and the information and actually smile when I walked to the door, which sometimes people are enthusiastic over a candidate, but it's not very often that they are actually smiling when they greet you when you knock on their door during an election. And it was really rewarding, and the result of the effort put into Canvass and Phone Bank showed in the results, where Prop 51 2-1, and that was really extraordinary. But I want to also give you guys a side benefit that if you hadn't heard the information on or hadn't connected the dots, I was making a guess that other states may follow our lead if we won by a large enough margin. And in fact, if I am not mistaken, and I am correct, so if I'm proven wrong, don't hold it against me forever, but Maryland and Virginia are now considering redistricting where they hadn't prior to the election in November, because of the huge margin we helped Prop 50 win by. And now that this is an election year, please, if you haven't done it before, the difference it makes showed in the results. And canvassing is direct voter contact, and it is still proven to be the most effective way to have an impact on the persuadable people and the people that may not vote because they don't have the information. And whatever, if you've done it before, please talk to other people, encourage them to do it, have them walk with you, have them join you, train them, mentor them, get them comfortable with the process. And let's make this one hell of a year, if I can say that, Wendy. Let's make this one hell of a year and win with a massive blue wave that puts 2018 as the second largest blue wave that we've been able to accomplish together. So it's rewarding, it's fun, have drinks afterwards, have dinner afterwards, what you can really make a lot of fun with it when you get people together. So I'm just really encouraging whatever you can do this year, please step into it and do it. And I hope I didn't take too long, Wendy. I'm sorry.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Misty. And the whole topic of our next meeting in February 21st, is going to be talking about canvassing, training for canvassing, and the targets for our canvassing, which most of you probably guessed is Darrell Issa's district, which we are going to flip. And yes, getting, I think, everyone who has canvassed before and then all of you who haven't yet together to do this. It's more fun for some of us than others. I will admit that. But we can make it fun for everybody, I promise, and give you all the right tools for it. And we'll be talking more about that at our next meeting. And our next speaker is going to be Cheryl, talking about those wonderful freeway overpass.
I made good notes because I really wanted to stick to 90 seconds. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Somehow the wrong
60 seconds. 60 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, your 60 seconds are not counting yet. Okay. Go.
So a lot of banner drops going on around town. In fact, if people are doing some, they could drop in the maybe in the chat what they're doing. But I've been working with the Change Begins With Me, the Overpass Alliance banner drop. It's a safe, potent, fun way to stand up to tyranny. Volunteers, usually it's 90 minutes on Monday afternoon, starting around 3 p.m. And we hold our pro-democracy messages over the freeway at Claremont Drive and I-5. And it is a drop-in event. You can just drop in. Powerful tools, you write a postcard, is off to one person. If you're on the freeway with a big banner, thousands of people see that message. We usually have 20 to 25 people show up on any given Monday. It's quite a sight to see everybody marching from the parking lot with these huge, long, I think there's one, you can get the idea of how big these banners are, definitely visible. We have a substantial sound system to blast resistance tunes. We have singing, dancing, inflatable animal costumes, laughter, great conversation. I really feel empowered, by everybody, the great reaction, people honking and thumbs up, occasional fuck you, but very rare. And people connect with other people. It's very important. You learn about what else is going on in the community. So basically summing up, it's a safe, effective action, requires no training, no preparation. I think of it as being like a gateway drug for people who don't really know where to start. They can kind of do that. It's an easy thing, and you connect with other people, you feel more confident, hopefully go out and take big action.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. And I should have mentioned that everything people are talking about, if there's any links to sign up or more information, some of it's going to go in the chat, but also we always follow up within 24 hours with an email. So look for an email from me. And we also do a recording of this presentation so you can share it with other people if you would like. And we'll send you the link to that as well. And next person up is Cindy Oops, who's going to talk about ICE out of San Diego rallies at the Federal Building. Oh, you're muted, Cindy.
So every Thursday at 10:30, there's a rally at the Federal Building on Front Street. You can drop in. I've, kind of blocked it out on my schedule, so I know that's where I'm going to be every Thursday. There's public transportation, but also meter parking down there. And what I love about this event is that it's a collaborative of labor, politicians, progressive groups, clergy, and just individuals that always are coming together and in community. And there's a group that takes charge of the program every week. Some group, it's a different group, but it's always interesting. The speakers, you can see we have the resistance, resistance
Resistors.
sisters. A couple weeks ago, I think Swing Left actually brought them. We don't always have music, but we've had mariachis. And I like it because it's also puts me in contact with other people working, other groups as well, working to shine the light on ICE and their atrocities. Particularly timely, I mean, for the last months, but as we know today, another brutal killing in Minnesota. So if you have any time to show up on Thursday, it's 10:30 to 11:30. The first half hour, we're marching around this courtyard in the Federal Building, and then the second half hour from 11 to 11:30, there's a program with a variety of speakers. And at the end, there are always action items that we can be taking moving forward. So again, I hope to see you there. It has been growing, but if you can come and bring a friend, it's also a fairly easy thing to put down in your schedule and participate in. It's just an hour. And you'll just feel better about being in community with everything that's going on. And to know that these are the people that you're going to be looking to and with moving forward. So hope to see you all there.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, and the value of these weekly protests, either here or some of the other ones you're about to hear about, is also that they're in place and ready to respond when something happens. And so we don't always have to be scrambling, maybe for 6 hours, with 6 hours notice to pull together a rally. Some of these are in place. So, for example, last Thursday and this coming Thursday at this particular rally, we included a march to the Chamber of Commerce, which the San Diego Chamber of Commerce, who is taking money from the GEO Group, which is, part of the private prison complex, and rallying to get the chamber to drop working with GEO Group. So that's just a way that all these weekly protests can be so flexible in what they're doing. And we're going to hear about another weekly protest now from Stephen Tanner, who was one of the people who pulled together a protest in I don't know how many hours in Mira Mesa last night. Over 100 people were there. City councilmen came to it, and it was a great success. So take it away, Stephen.
Thank you, Wendy. One protest that's special to me is the first hands-off protest. That is the first one where I was a volunteer and not just a shower-upper. And it's also one where I got outside my comfort zone and actually talked to people. I bumped into the president of the Neighborhood Democratic Club, and he took me aside and said, "I'm stepping down. We need somebody to run. Why don't you do it?" And so I did, and now I'm the president of the Black Mountain Democrats here in Mira Mesa and Script Ranch. So there are inactivists who will say that non-disruptive protests don't change anything. But I know they're wrong because, for starters, they changed me. I think in addition to sending a message to everyone on the outside who sees the protest, these are also places where we learn about what other people are doing. We cheer each other on. We organize everything else. So, I invite you to come to the weekly protest in Mira Mesa or all the other ones that are on the protest calendar. And when you do, reach out, make a friend, connect on Signal, learn about boycotts and strikes and all the other ways we organize.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. And Yvonne, you were going to speak next about the Otay Mesa protests. I think I have a slide for that.
Cool. Excellent. So as Wendy said, sometimes there's existing events that we can tag onto. So after the shooting of,
Sorry,
I don't think
Yvonne.
that's it. After the shooting of Renee Good, that weekend all of a sudden became a national weekend of action, Ice Out for Good. And so locally, rather than creating brand new events, we tagged on to existing events and we kind of targeted the Otay Mesa Detention Center weekly. And I'm not going to call it a protest. It's not really a protest. It's more like a vigil if you go there. And what is so amazing about this particular event is that the purpose of this is to gather names and information about detainees and then help fund their prison account so that they can call their family or call their legal help or whatever. Because sometimes, as we know, people are disappeared. Families have no clue where their family member is at. And because they don't have any money, they can't call their family. So this is a way, and it obviously doesn't help everybody. And it's really amazing how the group that created this event, they go there with bullhorns. They call into the detention center, which is a solid wall. If you've never been there, it is a fortress. And then all of a sudden you'll be hearing people call out to us from there with their name, their prison number, and their country of origin is what we ask. And then at the same time, the organizing group is raising funds to be able to put money in the accounts. And so that day that we had the special one, 250 people showed up. When it was typical to only have like 30 people show up, they raised $2,000 that day from us just putting money in the bucket. And I came away feeling like I really did something for somebody. When we go to a protest, we make a lot of noise. We hope that we're changing things, but when we can touch real people that need us, it feels so much better. So there is no link that I can find. Wendy put the flyer on the up, but I don't know that there's a link to sign up. So you just go. And I will also say on that day, people were kind of nervous about going down there by themselves. And I had a lot of female friends that ended up not coming because they couldn't find anybody to go with. But it was 100% safe. The organizer has got this really nailed, and she has a conversation with the warden every week before it happens to make sure that they're not going to come out and push back on us. As long as we follow their rules, they will leave us alone. So I highly recommend this because you've done something for somebody.
Yeah, I think that one weekend you're talking about, Yvonne, with the money they raised, were able to put money on about 100 people's accounts.
Right. And this week I just saw that they're raising funds by doing hair braiding down there while you're there. So, and interestingly, so after the first hour when they're gathering names, then they had John Batchelor was there with all of his music playlists. And apparently during their prior just talks with the people, they get a playlist and then they play the music that they asked us to play. And then it becomes a party. It's really fun.
Cool. Thank you, Yvonne. I think next we're going to hear from Caleb on a kind of a different tack, which is about giving.
Hi, everyone. As Wendy was sort of mentioning before, at the onset of 2025, I work in philanthropy, and we saw giving plummet to the political organizations that we need to support our candidates, the movement organizations. We need to support our infrastructure to build the country that we all want and deserve. And so I made a decision to dramatically increase my giving over 2024 because so many of our top major donors in the left pulled back, and it was going to fall to individual average people to fill that gap. And I also built a strategic giving plan that could really learned on how more sophisticated donors give politically to move movements and candidates forward in sustainable ways. This has been really important. It's allowed me to grow closer to the organizations I support. And probably the most effective thing for me was giving to a future and keeping at least partial eye on horizon. That there would be policies that would be exciting, there would be candidates that were pro-democracy, and that there was going to be an after that was better than the present, and provide investment in that idea.
So I think all those links, your suggested links on some background reading people might want to do on developing a giving plan, and then even some organizations that you particularly like are in those links. And again, we'll be sending all of this out in an email as soon as this meeting is over. Next person is also going to talk about giving, and that is Nancy.
Hi. So lately I've been exploring the idea of mutual aid. And through Cheryl, she introduced me to an organization in San Diego called We All We Got, and they're in City Heights. And it's important to note mutual aid is solidarity, not charity. And one of their most important principles is they believe that it's not our place to tell people what they need, that people will, they know what they need to live, to survive. And their food distribution is serving 300 families per month, and Migrant Aid has been providing 50 to 100 meals almost every day. So every Saturday, a group of volunteers shows up to pack food and other items for distribution. So in addition to, you can go volunteer in person, you can fill boxes, there's clothes sorters, pet food organizers, and what they call navigators, who are like directors on site. You can also, and there are food distribution, delivery drivers and supply drivers, and trash collectors, et cetera. But you can also just donate. And so that's what I did. I did a very small thing, just donated, 150 diapers or something. And I want to get more involved, but they're packed. I mean, so they have so many volunteers, which is awesome. So for right now, they're going strong. But the important thing is that they continue to go strong. And they continue to have people that can show up with a case of tuna fish or oatmeal or whatever it is that's on their site that they ask people to bring, and people sign up. So what you do, you create an account, and then you can sign up on any of the open slots. And they've got a very good system called signup.com. Excellent. And there's a list of food and supplies, toothbrush, canned goods, lots of diapers. So I think they're a very worthy organization, and an easy way to contribute with either your time or with a monetary or material donation. And I hope to work with them more, and I'll have more to report in a year of volunteering. Hope so.
Thank you, Nancy. That's great. And I'm seeing some people in the chat saying they've also been involved with that group and really. So thank you. And next, and yet a different kind of mutual aid from Angela.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I mean, it's on the giving theme. Anyway, a few years ago, Wendy hosted on one of the Zooms a representative from Voices of Our City Choir, which is the San Diego homeless choir that's been around now for, 8-10 years. And my quilting group has gotten involved with them. We've been involved with them about over 6 years. And we make a quilt. They're also an advocacy group. And as a group, we make quilts. And when one of them people is placed, it's a welcome home quilt. So when they're placed, we give them a quilt for their new house. And what's been really uplifting for myself and several of the people in our group, Cindy included, is that we go and we present the quilts during their rehearsals at St. Paul's Episcopal Church. So they rehearse every Monday at St. Paul's, and then we organize when we have a quilt. And it's just the connection and being able to go down there and people recognize us as the quilt ladies and we talk to them. It's wonderful. And then we're also involved in making quilts, as many other quilting groups are. We're also making baby quilts for underserved mothers. And we've been doing that now for a couple of years. And it just makes me feel good. So I like it. Thanks.
That's awesome. Yeah, Angela was the one that introduced me to the Voices of Our City Choir, and some of you may remember they made it on to what's the big show on TV? Oh,
America's Got Talent.
America's Got Talent. Thank you. And they performed, and it was a very touching episode. They got some kind of an award for that. But the most touching thing was that after they got this award, they got back on the bus from LA and came back to San Diego. And of course, they were all still homeless. So it was a great thing. But I think the sustained work that Voices of Our City Choir does is the most important part of their story. So thank you for doing that. And our last presenter is going to be Peter talking about boycotts.
Yeah, thank you. So corporate and social boycotts. I'll start with corporate. We talked about it a bit already, but for me, it's been Amazon and Spotify. And what I wanted to say real quick is that these, particularly the subscription folks, these boycotts really hurt them, but they play a shell game. They will not let on how much it actually does damage them, but they follow it very closely. And if there is a social stigma associated to them, it's a problem. So sustaining it and then also finding alternatives. I'll put a link in the chat, but Thrift Books was an alternative I found to buying stuff off Amazon to read that I highly recommend. So turning to social boycotts, we have these traditional defaults of not talking about politics when we're with our friends. I am boycotting that at the moment because as far as I'm concerned, the social contract has been broken when they are executing innocent people in the street. And so I have been bringing it up and I talk about it. And I have found that a lot of people will come thank me later and say, I'm glad you said something in that group, because there is a psychology of fear that they are pushing right now where when you speak publicly and speak out, it essentially kind of, pushes back on that and gives other people the permission to speak out as well. So it's a social boycott of sorts of our traditional defaults, and highly recommend trying it out and talking to your own friends, because we have a lot of power in our lives with the people around us.
That's awesome. Well, of course, this is just a sprinkling of the things that people have been involved in, and it was very hard to pick just some. But of course, there's a lot more information on our website. But I hope this gives you the sense that there's so much more going on in San Diego and in the country than we can be aware of, and that good things are happening in a lot of different ways from people that have a lot of different talents, or maybe some people that have no talent at all, except that they're concerned people who want to do the right thing. So to me, this is very helpful, and thank you so much, everybody, for contributing to that. We just have a little bit more we want to cover today, so I'm going to go back to the slides. All right, and we're going to try something I have never done before, which is a poll in our meeting. And just to get an idea, I mean, you heard from 10 people what they did, but there's over 80 of us on this call. I think it would be so interesting to find out what all the things that you've done during the last year. were, and we can give you the results in real time. So can everybody see that poll? Yes. Okay. That's
We can only see the question. We can't see the choices.
okay. Maybe I have to launch it. Okay. There we go. All right. So, let's just take, 30 seconds. I don't think it'll take too long for people to fill this out.
Give it a minute. Why don't you give it a minute or so and put some music on?
Put some music on. Okay. We'll give it a minute.
The bully has taken the playground. The smallest are trembling in fear. Everyone's yelling and shouting, and I'm standing here. I'm waiting for them to come running. Aren't they supposed to arrive? Where are the grown-ups to save the day? Where are the grown-ups to make it okay? Somebody's gotta come clean this mess off the floor. Where are the grown-ups we've been waiting for? Where are the grown-ups? The bully is building a fortress for only his friends at the top, slamming the rest into lockers. Please make him stop. I'm looking around for an answer. I thought they'd be here by now. Where are the grown-ups to save the day? Where are the grown-ups to show us the way? Somebody's gotta come clean this mess off the floor. Where are the grown-ups we've been waiting for? Where are the grown-ups?
Larry reminded me this is an anonymous poll, so don't worry. We won't track you down.
The kid on my lap won't stop crying. She's scared of the man on TV. The little eyes widen with worry. She turns to me. She's looking around for an answer, and now I have mine. We are the grown-ups to save the day. We are the grown-ups to make it okay. We're not gonna take this bullshit anymore. We are the grown-ups we've been waiting for. My God, we are the grown-ups. We are the grown-ups. So what are we waiting for?
Okay, so theoretically, you can see the results. And you may have to scroll down a bit because it's a long list. But it looks like the winner for things that people did was participating in a protest, donating to either a candidate or a nonprofit, joining a political group. Wow, 5 people had house parties. That's awesome. And 9 people had sign-making parties. And 12 of you actually organized a protest. So that is amazing. We will come out with a small handbook on doing this at your neighborhood level because it turns out there's several people on this call who have a lot to offer all of us on how to do that. Highway overpass, 13 people, 16 canvassed. Okay, we're going to get that up. We're going to get that number up this year. Promise, Misty. People wrote letters and called or wrote to their elected representatives. critical, of course. And 7 of you even wrote a letter to the editor. And I know that Stephen Tanner was maybe 5 of those 7 people. All right. I'll put those in the follow-up. Larry, can you mute yourself? Okay, we just have a little bit more we want to cover. After hearing about all these things, I think you'll see that all of them, all these actions kind of fall into one of these 6 categories. Some of them fall into multiple ones. But this is sort of the very rough guideline. And this is the way I, at least, have been thinking about 2026. And who knows, maybe this will change. But educating, right? Inspiring, educating, and making this movement bigger, whether it's through protests or town halls or house meetings or overpass drops or canvassing or any of the other things you talked about. Disrupting, right? So the protests, the boycotts, getting into our legislators and making them listen to us, all fall into that disruptive category. Aiding and protecting the vulnerable, winning elections. So you all know we've always had a pretty good chance to take back the House. Now we have an even better chance to take back the Senate, thanks very much largely to Donald Trump and some of the awful things he's doing. And that's going to be a big part of what we're doing as the months go by this year. Taking positive local actions, just showing what we're for, whether it's supporting our neighbors, educating our friends, showing what we're for and not just what we're against. And then rapid response, and that's something I'm going to talk about in just a sec. I also wanted to talk about something that I've probably been needing to do for myself for a few years, and maybe you too. I think, raise your hand if you have a friend that said, well, I vote for the right people, but there's really nothing else I can do, or nothing else I can do makes a difference. I just ran into somebody like that last week, and a lot of you are raising your hands. And maybe you all have come up with a pitch or an elevator talk for those people, something quick that doesn't overwhelm them and that doesn't guilt trip them, but just makes them understand, I love some of these quotes from Timothy Snyder, democracy's about 1 million people doing 1 million little things. And he also frequently says something like, do the thing. And when I first heard him say that, it was like, I'm so irritated. Tell us what thing you want us to do. But what he really meant was pick something, stick with it, and even if it's a small thing, know that it makes a difference. And so some of the things that I am going to ask my friends who are kind of these non-involved types to be doing is perhaps either set aside 30 minutes a week and call your legislators and use 5calls.org. Most of you are very familiar with this. They connect you to the right people. They give you a script. They give you the background information. Sometimes the message they give you is way too long, in my opinion. But we know for sure that phone calls to legislators work. It's been proven time and time again. And we're all going to need to be doing that on Monday, whether you've done it or not. We're going to give you the information. But that's to call your senators and tell them no more money for ICE. So that's right on the agenda for all of us, but also your friends. On our Take Action San Diego website, we also publish phone calls and issues that you can be involved in. You can also tell them, you've been donating to something, why don't you increase your donations? Look around for either other organizations to support or just increase what you've been doing already. And follow Caleb's lead and Angela's lead and Nancy's lead, and really invest in some organizations that are doing good work. Anyone who's on social media, you don't have to post anything yourself, but if you would just like and share some of the things that we post, Take Action San Diego posts, you'll be doing a world of good. You'll be getting the message out. You've heard me say it like a million times, but your friends on social media trust you more than they do anyone else. And when they see you posting something, they give it extra credibility. And especially now in this age of rapid response, it's going to be even more important, I think, the way we use social media. So keep that in mind. And then tell them to buy a whistle. Just go to a sporting goods store, go to a 99-cent store, carry around a whistle, and use it to protect other people. And let me see if I have that on the next slide. Yeah. And this is something, there's going to be trainings that people can get involved with for more than this, but at a very minimal level. If you've got a whistle with you all the time and you happen one day to be near a Home Depot or in City Heights and you see ice somewhere around, you do 3 short bursts on a whistle and you let the people around there know that ice is in the vicinity. And they go into their houses if they're worried. If you actually see someone being detained, you do 3 long bursts on a whistle. And sometimes people just honk their horns, and that also is usually a sign, but it has to be kind of in a pattern. So that's something I think your friends can do, but it's something we probably, whistles should be part of the outfit that we put on in the morning and carrying with us. And then maybe more for you than for your non-involved friends, but there is information on what to do if you see someone being detained. So how you can keep yourself safe, but also at least document what's happening to that person. And we have links on our website that give you some of the ideas that have come from Chicago and Minneapolis and some of the other cities where ICE has already been there in droves. We also want you to think about flexing your rapid response muscle. And that means if you're on social media, maybe checking it twice a day, at least, to make sure nothing's going on that requires your attention. And then, I sent out an email about every 2 weeks, but in this era, sort of made this new rapid response heading. If you see an email coming from me that's titled rapid response, it means look at it right away, because it's something that you need to look at really quickly. There's an action, there's a phone call, there's a call for donations, whatever it is. We try to use this judiciously. I don't want to pepper you with stuff and overwhelm you, but I do think we're in this mode now where we need to respond rapidly to things. And then, as Misty told you earlier, we really, really, really need to think about canvassing, particularly because we have one of the most consequential congressional races happening, and it's in San Diego County. It's not that long a drive for most of us, and it is once and for all getting rid of Darrell Issa. We don't know who the Democrat will be yet. In some ways, I personally don't care. But there will be many groups, including Swing Left, who will be organizing canvassing drives, training people, and getting people out to vote. And as I mentioned, on February 21st, we'll be doing a more extensive explanation of this particular approach, which I think makes a lot of sense that Swing Left is doing. It's called Ground Truth, and you'll hear more about it next month. And then take action this week. So with everything going on, there's some and probably while we've been talking, there's more. But tomorrow, there's at least 3 things to be aware of. The La Jolla Indivisible is organizing a rally at 10:30 a.m. at the corner of Pearl and Girard Street. This group is led by several women at the White Sands Retirement Home. So the average age of this group makes me feel young. But they are amazing, and they very organized. They do a great job, and this is in response to just what happened today. So they've already got the word out and the plan out. As Yvonne mentioned, the Otay Mesa Detention Facility, That's a weekly thing, but it's going on tomorrow starting at 1:30. And then at 4 o'clock, there's this procession of faith, which I don't know how many people have heard about it, but San Diego Organizing Project and the Catholic Diocese have worked together to get more than 100 faith leaders, including 3 bishops, to lead this procession, starting at Cesar Chavez Park in Barrio Logan. And the faith community has really stepped up on this issue of immigrant rights and ICE brutality. And they've been critical, I think, to this conversation and to the impact. And I am not a religious person myself, but I am going tomorrow in full support. I think this is a wonderful thing, and I'm so appreciative that it's happening. On Monday, we've got to call the senators and tell them no funding for ICE. They will be voting early next week on this. And also on Monday, if you live in the city of San Diego, we want you to call Mayor Todd Gloria and demand that he provides specific guidelines for the police on how they're going to protect us when ICE is here in full force. This is an ongoing issue, but it heated up a lot in the last few days. We want to be polite, but definitely strong and militant about what we think his role is in protecting San Diegans from ICE. And then Thursday, what Cindy mentioned, ICE out of San Diego at the federal building. And as I said, there'll be a lot more things than this. People have also been putting stuff in the chat, so please take a look at that. But I will also include other things that people are putting in the chat. We have a Take Action San Diego website that lists actions and events on one web page and a protest calendar on the other. So again, it's another way that you can stay apprised of what's going on, and those links are going into the chat. And now we're just at 5:04. I don't know. We probably take another 10 minutes if people are interested in either contributing some information on some other events that they would like people to be aware of, or some things they have been involved in that have been particularly rewarding and effective to them. And I see, Patty, you raised your hand. You just have to unmute yourself.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Real quick, the Women's March sent out an email today asking people to light a candle, either place it in your window or out front tonight in unity with the folks in Minnesota. So I wanted to pass that on. And we're also forming a Whistle Brigade. I just got off the phone. I got called by Father Scott at Our Lady of Guadalupe. We're trying to work within the communities in Barrio Logan, National City, Logan Heights. So I may get you, Wendy, information on this if we can get this spreading, because got to do something here.
Yeah, no, I think people would be really interested in the Whistle Brigade and training for that. So yeah, stay in touch. Misty.
And Wendy, you and I know, have had conversations.
Oh, you just muted out. Hold on a sec.
That was me again.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I there? I know you and I have had conversations over time about this. And for anybody who was like me and expected 2026 to be a wild ride, it is not disappointing from that perspective so far. It is meeting expectations. But I just want to say, while there's going to be a lot to do electorally and protecting our communities, and probably far more rapid response than any of us have any interest in experiencing, but it's going to be unavoidable. We have to also remember this is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And please, everyone, while we're asking you, whether you're part of Take Action San Diego, you're with other groups, whatever your affiliations are, please remember it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that you do have to take time for your mental health, your well-being, to step away when you cannot do something. There will be plenty for you to do this year, more than you would like to have to do this year, but take time for yourself and make sure that you are taking care of yourself while you're getting this information and being asked to do a lot during this time.
Thank you, Misty. It's so important. And, so many people have told me I burned out and I had to stop. Stop before you burn out. Please look for the warning signs and then, take a break. And thank you. We have thought at times of actually having a counselor come and talking to us about some coping mechanisms, and it's probably not a bad idea. I'm not a good one to give that advice. So I need it also. Yeah.
I'm not either, but I know that this is what I see around me. You know that. And so it's just a reminder, not only to ourselves, but to the people that we see who also need, if you are close enough to them, to say, you don't have to do this. That's why there's a lot of us. That's why we're growing this movement. And it takes all of us doing something, which you very, very well said earlier. A million little things, and we all do something, but we can't all do everything.
Well said. Yeah. Thank you. And by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. This is the first meeting in a year that we have gone back to being able to see each other's faces. I've been using the Zoom webinar before, partly because we were getting more than 100 people sometimes, partly because I was worried about trolls. I have to say...
Turn the presentation off so they can see their faces.
I have to say that it's really nice seeing all your faces. So let me just end with these two great quotes that, maybe they're always good, but I think in this movement, at this moment, we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. I think, the despair that's, been difficult for a lot of us to cope with, it lives right alongside the hope that it can be better. And getting again those two contradictory thoughts in our minds is great. And then, you are the leaders that we've been looking for, just like in that great song from Shana Taub, we are the grown-ups. It's us, and we've been doing it, and we're going to keep doing it. And I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being out there and doing everything that you're doing. I'm going to... Yes, I'm having helpful reminders. Thank you, Larry. I want to remind you, we'll have a sign up for our next meeting. But to close, I think what I want to do is put us back so we can see each other again. There we are. All right, everybody. That's much better. Thank you again. Look for an email from me and a video, and contact me, this month if you have actions you want people to know about, questions, advice, whatever. I love hearing from all of you. So thank you, and see you soon. Take care, everybody.